Kusatsu was the second to the last of the Tokaido's 53 stations. Because of its proximity to Kyoto, it seems to be a busy place. But a few blocks nearer the old center, where the Old Tokaido runs through town, it is considerably quieter. Kusatsu had the distinction of being the station where the two most important roads in Japan joined up. On the one hand, there was the Tokaido, the Eastern Sea Road, which I have come to know pretty well. On the other, the Nakasendo, an alternate route that bypassed the coast in favor of a longer inland route. Right near here, the two roads met, creating a constant coming and going of travelers, which Hiroshige depicted in his image. He shows a roadside resting place where travelers could relax or get something to eat or drink. Its leisurely atmosphere contrasts with porters hurrying on in the foreground. 4 coolies are carrying what looks like an early version of a porta potty. Heading in the other direction are 4 express palanquin bearers. Their passenger doesn't look very comfortable, but for people who didn't want to walk, it was either that or a horse. Today we fortunately have many more choices, one of which I take in the direction of Otsu, the Tokaido's next station. For a brief time, Otsu was Japan's capital, though that role was later absorbed by its larger neighbor across those mountains in the distance. But it always had the distinction of being the Tokaido's final station, and that makes me eager to see it. When I get to town, I walk by the local fire department. A rescue unit is in the midst of its daily training. As elsewhere, firemen here do a great deal more than extinguishing fires. Search and rescue operations are an important part of their task, and for good reason. Every year, the country is hit by at least 1,000 tremors. Many of them are not necessarily felt, but every year people die as a result of earthquakes. And the big one everyone fears is yet to come. Not only that, it is overdue. Otsu's firefighters not only allow me to watch their training, they also offer me a ride. It is an offer I cannot possibly refuse. Not because I ever wanted to be a firefighter when I was a kid, but because of the association. Hiroshige indeed traveled with a delegation of the Edo Fire Brigade to Kyoto. Starting the final leg in the company of these men is thus quite symbolic. In the hills outside town, Hiroshige halted to sketch his image for the Tokaido's last station. It shows another tea house and 3 ox-pulled carts heading towards town. One of them is filled with rice bales, the others with what looks like charcoal. This is the first time we see a wheeled vehicle anywhere in Hiroshige's images. The tea house was a bit of a local landmark, because of the well in front of it. Water flowed from it ceaselessly, and apparently, it still does. And someone took great care to not only preserve the well, but also the surroundings. I am reminded of my introduction to wabi-sabi a few days ago in Okazaki. But the line between wabi-sabi and a total lack of it is often very thin. Inside the garden, harmony, graceful aging, and a bit of melancholy. Just outside it, Route 1, with its traffic lumbering on towards Kyoto. There is no Old Tokaido sneaking off into the woods for a quieter entry into the city, so I will spare you the final noisy stretch and allow for a different approach to my destination, Sanjo Ohashi, the Great Sanjo Bridge in Kyoto. It was so for Hiroshige as well, though he doesn't convey it the way he did with the departure from Nihonbashi. Instead, he shows a wide-angle view of the bridge with various people crossing, elegantly dressed women, some porters. At one end, an official procession. The person looking over the side to the water strikes me. Maybe Hiroshige put himself into the picture here. We'll never know. In the background, he shows the city, and rising above it, the mountains of Higashiyama, along with the temples built in the foothills. In Hiroshige's time, all Japanese aspired to visit these at least once in their life, and that aspiration hasn't changed a bit. Only today, the flow of visitors is vastly increased by the ease of getting here, and by the many foreign tourists who put this city on top of the list of places to see in Japan. And they are right. Kyoto was spared the bombings that leveled virtually every major city I have encountered along the Tokaido, and thus is one of the few places where the Japan we all hope to find still exists. So I joined the flow of visitors to the magnificent temple of Kiyomizu-dera, and I enjoy the architecture, the scenery, everything that makes up this splendid part of Kyoto. When evening falls, it is just a few blocks down to Gion, one of the city's most enjoyable districts, with its maze of streets and alleys, and shops specializing in Japanese wares. To many people, this area represents Kyoto, if not all of Japan. But that's no different than equating France with Paris, or China with the Forbidden City. The real Japan lies somewhat further, along the Old Tokaido, and along similar roads that crisscross the country less conspicuously. They don't make it into the fancy travel brochures, which is perfectly understandable, but also somewhat unfortunate. For the temples, palaces, and cathedrals we all aspire to see, while splendid, hardly convey what countries are about. They are about their people, their dreams and aspirations, which often appear to be just like ours. But it takes time to discover that. Time and a willingness to explore what we often ignore.